Welcome to the Weekly Pistol Podcast. At the end of this hour, we want you better than when we started.
All right. We're back again. You just turn your phone down. Why'd you turn it down?
So that nobody sees me watching the game.
Because you don't want to see the losers?
No, I won't be able to concentrate or focus. I'll get distracted watching the game.
All right. We're back again. Ugly Sweater Day. We all went shopping to the same location.
Well,
sort of.
Yeah. I don't know. Look at mine. Check it out. What?
Oh, yeah. That's cool, man.
What do you think of that, dirt
That's
fuckers?
cool.
but I do have a question, though. Like Mark said, like, what do you do when you wash that?
I don't know.
You
guys overthink shit.
You throw it away.
It's a one-time use.
You guys overthink shit.
That's a disposable sweater.
Careful with the camera there. Don't knock that shit over.
Oh, sorry. Am I hitting it?
Don't get all crazy.
Probably.
I don't know. I kind of dig the sweaters, but Veronica's is more cute than ugly.
Yeah. Are we doing an ISO cam on Veronica's sweater?
I know we
is it
should have had
Rudolph?
a cam. Like, I'm just chilling.
You know, Dasher and Dancer and Prancer.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Before we get started, welcome back to the podcast. If you're new, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell so you know when we put up these podcasts and make fun of Veronica and Kurt. What the fuck is his name? Cliff
Jesus,
with a K.
The season's almost over.
Fuck, no one knows.
Is it Cliff with a K?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's weird.
It's KK.
Cliff Kingsbury.
Cliff Kingsbury. Huh.
So,
Double K.
yeah.
Interesting.
So, you guys vote on the ugly sweater contest. Mark, no fucking paying off people to pick you as the winner like you did with the fucking
What are you
camera.
talking about?
With the paintings and shit.
What are you talking about?
Soliciting shit, you know.
What
like,
are
hey,
you talking about?
you like mine better.
I don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So,
I kind of dig mine. It's a little traditional.
it is. It's very basic.
She's got,
It's not even really ugly.
he's got 3 hoes on there.
Yeah.
You just touched my
He's
nipple.
got married 3
That
hoes,
was
especially in this O area. It's the ho-ho areola.
A little lower, Mark. A little lower.
So, apparently
He's got
his-
that. She's got Rudolph blazing over there with
Hey.
some shades on.
it's all cool and shit. It looks like
It
a
actually
cute
does
dog.
look cool. Yeah. that
Not
is a
ugly
nice
at
one.
all. Not
I
ugly
think
at all.
it's nice too.
Man,
Oh, shit, she's got bells on her shit.
Oh, check it out.
That's awesome. So,
She might win.
Manny's got the battery operated chillin'.
yeah, chilling, bro. Chilling.
Gingerbread.
Yeah, floating in crack cocaine right there.
I got fa la 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 llama with some
Llama.
slinging some crack rocks down here on the bottom.
That's awesome.
They're actually jingle bells, but I'm not gonna unwrap them.
So,
I'm probably taking the sweater back. Screw the store over. I got my one use out of it.
send it back.
You're like,
How come
yeah.
that smells like burritos?
Hey.
I don't know.
Hey.
Chipotle. I don't know.
Tamales. We had tamales.
Yeah,
That's what it
it was
Quit
was.
putting
Tamales.
drugs on your sweater.
Yeah.
So, keeping in light of the holiday season, this will be, so we're 2 weeks out from Christmas. And we did this a little bit early, right? So 2 weeks from now, roughly, it'd be Christmas Eve or so. Wednesday, I think it falls on. Didn't we check there?
We should wear these until Christmas is over.
No washing them?
No.
We already know how this one over here does that
Whoa.
shit.
Game
Chilton.
it. Game it out, man.
Yeah.
Make it gamey.
I'll do it. Fuck it. What does it matter?
We only wear it a couple hours here anyway.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
So, this...
Wait, we're not supposed to wear this all the time?
No.
Oh.
So this this podcast we're gonna touch on the medication portion of PTSD, which we've all been through. And I forgot my meds this time. Veronica brought a pharmaceutical
Just
amount
a
of
few.
meds from
Just
the
a few.
pharmacist. What? So real quick before we get into that part of it, I've taken multiple meds. Veronica, I clearly see you have taken multiple
She's got
meds.
quite the stack.
I
Yeah.
know, and these are not even, I don't,
Probably not even all of them.
no, not even close. Like
So-
some of these, I don't even know what they were for.
Jesus, she
Well,
doesn't.
that's great.
Whatever.
Let's just take them.
I just did what the doctor told me.
All right. So 2 of us, Mark, you took meds.
Yeah, I took. I know I had counted over 15 different kinds, and that's over probably a 10-year period.
What about you there, Teabag?
Well, I did for a very brief stint.
Short
Yeah,
time.
Yeah, definitely did utilize them though.
So, Veronica, seeing how you have your meds in front of you, you'll know exactly what it is that what you took. Run down a list of what it is that you got there.
Okay. The prazosin.
Prazosin, that's a beta blocker, right? Or a heart, is that a prazosin? Isn't that a blood pressure medication?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Don't ask me what any of these things do.
Propanolol is
Propanolol,
that's
right.
the other one. And I don't have that. Oh, I do have that in my purse.
Do you remember any side effects from that?
No, I don't remember anything from any of them.
Nothing at all.
I mean, I know, like, obviously, like I mentioned before, like, I had the no feeling of anything. So it just, like, numbed everything, right? I didn't feel happy, but I wasn't sad anymore. I had no feelings. So.
You should take that before you get in a fight.
Yeah.
Take those and kick the shit out of everybody.
So what else do you have on there?
I have the gabapentin.
Oh, that's another good one.
Good old GABA.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And then this is the one, Deluxetine.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, me either. I don't
How do you take those? How does it say to take those?
It's,
Orally.
two-
Don't try going the other way, man.
Hopefully.
It's just Christmas. It's not your birthday.
2 capsules a day. It doesn't even say like when. Just 2 a
Just
day.
2 a day. Not as needed?
Mm-mm. Oh no, this was regular. And then I have the clonazepam.
Oh, there's the benzos.
Pam.
It's good stuff.
Good
I
job,
think-
Pam.
Old Pams.
Yeah, and then I have Savella. Have you guys heard of that?
No.
What is it?
What the hell is that? What were you on? What is that? Spell it for me. I'm going to check it out.
Savella.
Saliva.
Savella.
I don't even know what it is. So
Not anymore.
So prior to this, were you? I pretty much gonna guess the answer is no. But you weren't a big pill popper, right?
No prescribed medications before this.
None at all. So
My things changed.
yeah. So what was? You don't remember what any of those were for? Were any of those for sleep?
No, that was the one thing I
Holy
did not
shit! How'd you sleep?
Probably alcohol.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Wow.
So, any obscure side effects that you might have gotten that you can remember?
No, I mean I have problems with my vision. Things are still very blurry for me. So, I think that was something that started after taking medication. And
Your vision?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, blurred vision is some of that. Mostly the benzos.
Yeah, and other than that, really, nothing that I can think of. You know, nothing that I have attributed to it.
I attribute everything wrong with me to my meds.
Me too.
Everything.
It probably is.
Everything.
Too.
Yeah,
It's
me
their
too.
Yeah.
fault.
If I have a headache, this is lorazepam. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's like the El Nino effect for me. I blame everything on my meds, dude. I don't care.
Global warming.
Yeah, you're
That's
like,
my
"Fuck,
medication.
yeah."
It's my medication.
So,
it makes me flatulent, and therefore global warming.
so you
Good point.
you have absolutely no. Do you remember the first med they put you on?
So my first med was from HeartFit because that was the first place I went. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to go somewhere, right? And I went in and they gave me, it was a PAM, right? I don't even know what it was. It was something for anxiety, though. Like,
Probably somebody calm me down.
yeah. And that was really it. And they were just like, take this every day.
Were you wearing that sweater when you went in?
No.
Because
it
you need to
was like-
calm down with wearing shit like that. What the heck?
So
It was June.
she was. So you don't remember
Is
any
it Christmas yet?
anything of those, any part of that? You don't recall any. What were you thinking when they said you were going to go on meds?
At the time, I was so messed up. Like, I wanted anything. I was literally willing to do anything I could because, you know, the anxiety was just out of control. My depression was crazy. Like, I was afraid of everything. Like, I just, whatever they told me to me at the time, I thought was just going to be magic and make it all better.
Did it?
I mean, it served a purpose for a little bit, I think. I think it helped to, like, settle me a little, but...
That reset, almost.
Yeah,
Right?
but, you know, long term, what I found was that I just had no feeling. Like, I think initially I needed that dump of no feeling because all of my senses were so crazy. And so I think that helped initially. But after, you know, after a while, like after a couple years, right, I just had no feeling of anything. Like, I realized I never could celebrate the good times because I didn't feel the good times. So
I might have been Lexapro. That's what Lexapro did to me.
I was never on Lexapro. That's one thing.
Jesus.
I know.
You got out unscathed. No side effects. You slept well. I didn't sleep well at all.
I don't know that I slept well. I just didn't take anything for sleep.
What was the other stuff for? Anxiety?
I think everything
Depression?
was really anxiety and depression. Yeah.
That's odd. What about you, Mark? You tried everything. You're a fucking goddamn.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I was doing was over-the-counter stuff, for sleep. So I just had to sleep, and couldn't. So I tried anything I could get my hands on, and alcohol. Then nothing would keep me down. And so I went to the urgent care that day, and told her I just tried to. This is what I told her. I said, I caught myself trying to shoot myself in the head so that I could sleep.
What'd she say to that?
Like, what? Yeah, she freaked out. Anyway.
Like, what?
But I said, I'm just trying to get some sleep. And I said, I need some sleeping pills, some prescription strength stuff. And she gave me something, and I have no idea what it was because I was like psychotic at that point. And I got to I went to a psychiatrist and a therapist the next day, and they loaded me up with stuff. I went out of there with 5 prescriptions.
Damn.
One of them was Ambien.
How'd that work out for you?
Not good. Like my dreams, like I thought my dreams were on overload before, and then when I hit Ambien, it's like I didn't know that dream didn't just happen. And it was like so bizarre stuff, not
Like
just
it
my
was real?
yeah, not just my shooting, but I had dreams of, oh my gosh, I'm up and now I'm going around the house, and you know what? Somebody's trying to stab me in the kitchen, and I mean, it was just freaked out dreams.
Yeah.
And I would wake up in the morning thinking, did that just happen?
That really
Was it
happened.
real?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think somebody tried to stab me in the kitchen last night. Yeah, it was terrible.
Oh.
So I got
do
on
you
a
remember
bunch of
what you
stuff.
were on?
No, but I do know shortly after I went to a couple of those doctors, I went to one and they put me on Seroquel.
Ooh.
And let me tell you,
Wow.
that was the most destructive drug I've ever been on.
Highly addictive too, right?
I have no idea, but I mean, they were bringing me up and bringing me up and bringing me up, and I don't know how much I had, but I was taking 7 pills a day.
Damn.
Fuck.
Yeah, and they were big SOBs, uglies.
All to counteract the side effects of each other one, or what?
No, 7 pills from there. Yeah.
From
And-
Seroquel?
Yeah, and I was like, God damn, and my gut would just hurt so much from all that shit in there. And I'd be like trying to eat or something, and immediately, probably within the first, I'll just long shot it and say 3 weeks. I know it was less than that. I think it was like within the first 2 weeks. I'm sitting on the couch and I do one of these. I was like, damn, my head just like twitched, you know?
Yeah.
And it probably a half hour goes by again, and I'm like, my head snaps back like that, and I'm like, man, what is going on with me? And
Was it a twitch?
no, that stuff is used for treating seizures. You know what the side effect is?
Seizures.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So
kidding
I
me.
would wake up in the morning, and sometimes just even at night, and my head would snap back like that.
Oh, my God.
And over and over and over and over, and I mean thousands of times a day.
Ugh.
Wow.
And I was telling the doctor, I says, man, I said, this thing in my head, man. I said, you got to get this shit out of me. And he said, yeah, I'm gonna adjust you medication more.
Alright, give you more.
More.
He's literally
Yeah,
like,
because he's like, yeah, I think he's
fuckle,
having
fuckle,
seizures.
fuck.
So yeah, let me give you more of the seizure stuff. And then I started, like, my jaw started tightening up, and it felt like, the only way I have to describe it, but my tongue would just like get exhausted,
Oh yeah.
and it felt like somebody was taking a steel rod and shoving it up through the bottom of between my jawbones.
Yeah.
And just like, holy, and I'd take a bite of food, and it'd be like 1 chew, 2 chews, and I'd put my hand over my mouth because I'd have to hang my mouth open, like,
Like you were tired?
yeah, I was exhausted.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was exhausted, and my muscles were cramping up, and so now I got like this permanent nerve damage on the right side or on
And
my
those
left
are all
side.
like effects of having an actual seizure, though.
Yeah, it is.
tongue
It
being, the
absolutely
muscles
is. So my
tightening up.
vertebrae are all out of whack now from my muscles over clenching
Yeah.
up over here and shit like that.
So how'd you sleep?
Terrible. Terrible.
Holy
But I mean,
shit.
like, I would put my head into that pillow, man, and I was just like I would pass out from exhaustion from twitching all effing day long. Man. It was just killing me. And that's really the first time I ever named that drug by chance, because I'm afraid the drug company's going to come after me.
What are they going to sue you for?
Yeah,
$1.99?
this is what you did. Yeah, exactly. So that's what you did to me. But anyway, so anytime I ever hear anybody that's on Seroquel, I said, listen, if you start getting tightness in your jaw, if your tongue starts screwing with you, and you start twitching or anything like that, or your hand starts to tremble like mine does incessantly now, I says, you get that doctor to get you off that crap immediately.
Yeah.
So the last 2 people that have been in group therapy with me at Pistol, they said, I'm on Seroquel. I said, hey, has this happened? And one dude said, yeah, that just started happening. I said, get off it right now, man.
Yeah, turn it in.
Don't take that stuff.
Right.
And the one guy got off it, and another guy says, well, I'm on a real low dose. I'm going to stick with it. I said, welcome to permanent nerve and brain damage, muscle damage. But anyway, I mean, everybody makes their own choices.
Did you get on the benzos?
Yeah, I was on a bunch of stuff like that. I finally ended up being on, like, my long-term things that I was on, I think, for over 5 years was Depakote and Effexor.
Ooh, Depakote.
Yep.
That's heavy duty, not, what was that?
Psychotic.
Psychotic, yeah, antipsychotic.
So I was on that for the longest time, and then that's what I weaned myself off of.
How long were you on the meds?
I was on, for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Veronica? How long were you on?
I started March of 2016, and I stopped, I guess, only a year and a half, September probably of 2017.
Did you take yourself off, or did the doctors?
No, so I went in like August, and I said, hey, I noticed I'm not feeling anything. I don't like this. I'd like to start slowly getting off some medications. Maybe I'll try to go to some kind of more natural homeopathic route or something. And she was like, yeah, no, that's not going to work. Here's another script.
Wow.
And she was like, yeah, no, like I don't recommend that. And so she sent me home with another script. I refilled them, but never took them. And then over like the next week, I would like take half my meds that week. And then I was like, all right, well, nothing happened, so I can take them. I can be done. And
Yeah, just cold turkey. How you didn't care about any side effects or nothing.
You went off that quick?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
In a week, I was off everything.
See, it took me 9 months to get off of them.
Wow.
Just like a slow wean.
Yeah, so I had these capsules, and I would take. First, I said, okay, I'm gonna drop one capsule because I was taking 7 of those. I said, I'm taking one less this month. I'm taking one less this month. Then when I got down to the last one, I was so afraid because I'd gone off meds, tried to go off cold turkey before. I ended up in a psych ward after a suicide attempt. So I said, well, I'm going to be smart about it.
Yeah.
And so
Follow
I would
directions.
take the capsules apart, and I would just like fill it halfway and then just scoop the top off. Say, okay, this one's going down to half. But when I had my last one, I would take the half, and then I would count out how many little balls were in there of medicine. And I said, all right, I'm taking 10 of those away for this month. Take them away, and then I'd eat this, capsule like a quarter of the way full, and take that. And I said, or not a month. I said, I'm going to try that for a week, see how I do. And then I take 10 more away the next week out of each capsule that I was taking every day. So, yeah, it's kind of a little science project I had going there.
So
I started getting a lot of extra medication because I'm still getting this meds shipped to me. And I kept stockpiling it because I was like, you know what? If shit hits the fan, I don't want to be without medication because I know what that's like. That's called lockup.
Yeah.
And so I took the medication. And I used it as a security. Like, I never want to be without it, but I certainly don't want to take it. And so I had this huge toolbox. It was like this big and about that deep, full
of meds,
of bottles of medication.
Oh my god!
Just
Wow.
I must have had at least 50 bottles of medication in there.
Wow.
What were the other meds you had there, Veronica? Because I don't think that Cerevel's for like PTSD.
That's what they gave me.
Seroquel.
No, the Cerevel?
Oh, what you have?
Savella, whatever.
Yeah.
It says for fibro.
Oh, I wonder if she was giving it. I have fibro, so maybe she was trying to like teach me. But I'd
No,
never
you're
been
Supposed
on.
to still be on that.
Yeah.
No, but I
Holy
was
shit.
never on any medication for it, and I think she told me it was for depression.
Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't say that. Chronic pain. But what else do you have?
I have the clonazepam.
That's a good one.
Prazozin.
Prazozin.
Yes,
I was on that.
the gabapentin, and then the duloxetine.
Yeah. So, why'd you get off of Mark after 10 years?
Because I still had all of my symptoms. It took none of them away.
It just added.
Yeah, it added anxiety, which I had anxiety anyway from the job, but nothing went away. I was just too doped up to get up and move and do shit,
React to it. Yeah.
to do anything about it.
Did you have a lot of depression?
Ton of it. Still do.
Anxiety?
Ton of it.
And none of those meds helped?
No.
Not even the ones that made you level?
So initially, it did. It gave me like, I remember having like, there was probably 2, maybe 3 full weeks where I was just like giddy. I was like, that's funny. Look at that stupid bottle of pills. That's retarded. Everything was funny, and I was like, I was drunk.
Right.
But immediately it stopped, and then he's like, well, we'll just increase the dosage.
Raise
we'll
the
just
rate.
increase the dosage, and then it started turning into depression, and I was like, really, I'm having depression, I'm having nightmares, I'm having anxiety, I'm having hallucinations even, with all the medication that I'm taking that's supposed to stop all of that. So
Right.
why am I taking this? And then I have all these side effects of it.
So why stay on it for 10 years?
Because I was hard up. I mean, I
You
was
just believed in it.
scared.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I'm thinking, well, they know what they're doing. They they went to college,
Right.
Probably, probably.
Maybe.
Yeah.
They're scholars.
There's not a GED for college, is there?
Except for Pepe at the back door that you're buying the dope from.
So the dumpster is not a pharmacy.
No.
Who knew?
So,
So I just said, hey, I'll just have the symptoms without the meds.
so with the benzos, the side effects, I pulled it up. The side effects are drowsiness, confusion, dizziness, trembling, impaired coordination, vision problems, grogginess, and feeling of depression. That's just the start. Because, there's two. I noted when I started my meds, there were always 2 different versions of side effects. Like the ones that everyone got, and then the ones that like the 1% of society got. And that usually included like rectal bleeding and death.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Lazy eyeball.
Yeah, it was like whatever. So,
Drooling.
of all those, did you experience any of that?
Yeah.
Constipation was another one.
Didn't have that, but there were some of the other ones.
Well, you
like
said
the
blurred vision, right? That's a bad
and
one.
I think you said like dizziness.
Dizzy.
Yeah,
and,
dizziness,
Like,
yeah.
and maybe like I want to call it like almost more of a foggy.
Fog.
Yeah, something like
Well,
that.
we all also suffered from depression. The
Right.
symptoms, the
Yeah.
side effect from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take this for depression. By the way, if you feel
Look,
depressed
side
after
effect.
taking this,
Depression.
It's a side effect of your medication.
suicidal.
Take
yeah.
this medication to combat that medication.
Yeah.
Well, and the other side of that is when you hit that depression side effect phase, it killed you. Like, it put you down even deeper than anything.
Yeah, and they
else
like
would
to
have.
supplement it with Abilify, which I had
Exactly,
all
yeah.
that on. I was like, really? Now I'm really feeling super, super bad.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you need more Abilify.
Raise it.
Yeah.
So, Tony, what about you? You were the one that did the least amount of meds.
I did, yeah. So I did the least amount for sure. But I will say that I was on, for about 5 years, I was on Adderall and Concerta and Ritalin. Ritalin at 5 milligrams and Concerta at 54 milligrams. So I was taking that every day.
That's such an odd number. I mean, it's an even number.
Isn't it weird?
But 54?
Yeah, I know.
Everything's like 5, 10,
Yeah.
15, 20. Then it just jumps to 30,
54.
40.
Take
Let's
54.
give this nut 54.
Yeah. So
It's like the Cardinals calling out a football call.
well, no, and that's the
Blue,
thing. Is like
54.
It had me
54.
loaded up. Like I was crystal methed out for 5 years. That's literally I was just jiving all the time, just ding,
Yeah.
ding, 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 ding,
Adderall is
ding,
great
ding,
shit.
ding, 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 ding. But when I hit my depression, I still had that ding, 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 ding going, but like I was in a different place. So
Your mind.
Is that when you walked all the way to Seattle?
yeah, exactly. I skipped.
Yeah.
Hey, it's
No,
cloudy over here. Forget it.
All right, back home.
So you
So I was prescribed that for about 5-6 years, something like that. When the event happened, when I had my critical incident, I noticed there was a dramatic aggression that just came out like on this Concerta. So it wasn't only like a PTSD aggression, this was like an intensified, like crazy amount
Like the Hulk?
of just bad news is what it was. So I went to the doctor, finally got everything identified, blah 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 blah. I was prescribed diazepam. I was prescribed Zoloft at first.
Oh, so soft.
Yeah, Zoloft at first,
That's what
which
it's
did
called.
not work. Turned to Lexapro. Go figure.
Yeah.
From there, I kind of took those those two things for, well, let's see, the diazepam was on an as needed basis. So basically whenever I was drinking, which was every day, I was going to take those every 2 hours. So that's how I
It's a
used
feel good med.
Yeah, that's how I use my diazepam. Took that for a good 2 months. At that 2-month mark, I felt like a fucking zombie. I had no, like Veronica kind of said, you had no feeling whatsoever. You knew what was going on, but your body, and I think Mark even said that too, your body just didn't give a fuck to react to it, is what it was.
You mean your mind?
Well, no,
right?
it was like my body.
I felt like my body couldn't move.
Like I wanted to.
Yeah, I just felt like I was behind this thick piece of glass, and I was like,
it was like
I just
weight.
can't.
Like the world was
Almost.
happening around
Yeah,
you.
and
You
I
were
couldn't
just
get through
there.
it.
Yeah,
I just
like it
couldn't
was
get
like
through it.
quicksand. Like you're not able
Right.
to
Get
move.
far.
There you go.
And so at that point, I was like, well, I want to have some form of a life. I picked up a book and started reading about natural medicine and stuff, and like that is the one thing that changed me. Like once I read that, I was like, okay, I can start to wean off of this and really start to take my mental health into my own control, kind of. So I knew that the communication side of it was huge, so I knew that I had to keep talking to someone, but I knew that I could somehow wean myself off of these drugs because I didn't feel...
Right, and that for me too. Like I was seeing my counselor like twice a week, and she,
that part
I figured
is crucial.
Like, right, and I felt like with her there and like all the tools and techniques she had taught me on how to deal when I was having a panic attack or whatever, that was part of why I felt like I would be okay to not take them anymore.
Yep. So after about 3 months total, I was completely off of them. I was just like, fuck this, I'm not doing this.
You took them off because you just couldn't feel anymore?
Well, I mean, obviously, I didn't stop smoking, but I stopped when I started taking those meds.
Smoking the reefer.
You're talking about flour, right?
Yeah,
You're not talking about tobacco.
Old greenie. But yeah, I stopped when I started taking those meds because I was afraid how that would whole counteract, Once I realized that I was just pretty much abusing the drugs that they were giving me, I was like, well, I really didn't do that very much when I was smoking pot, so that's kind of really what got me into it.
So as a stoner, did that stuff help you better than the medication?
100%, yeah. It's weird. It really is. And like I describe it the same way every time. It just gives you a different vantage point of why the episode happened and what you're gonna do after that. It gave me some form of clarity and like some form of a reset to be like, hey, my life isn't over. I need to just live in honor of those kids, and enjoy my life.
Right.
So yeah.
And you just got tired of not feeling, and that's why you took.
That's what I couldn't feel anymore. I always had those kids in the back of my head, and it was like, this isn't working. Like I'm just picturing these kids every day, and I was just like, yeah, the meds make me forget about it somewhat. Not really. It was more like it just not care about it, if anything. But they were always there, and so that's.
And the grass did what for it?
More of let's see. I still, man, that's the thing is I still see those kids every now and again.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a natural form of a medication, so it's not going to take care of the problem unless I want to take care of the problem fully. And I do realize that, but for what it does for me to get through, I think is leaps and bounds more helpful than the medication.
In the meds.
was. Yeah.
I did that for a year. I did pot for a year, and
Wasn't your ding, huh?
Huh?
Wasn't your thing?
it was actually. I mean, I got benefits out of it, but it's my fear of medications is okay.
It's
You
still
know,
something.
I had a small amount was effective, and within weeks I needed almost twice that amount. Within weeks I needed almost twice that amount, and I was like, I don't want a tolerance built up to anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
It's either going to work and make it go away, or it's going to help me cope. And actually, what Tony said, I was able to, you know, in a almost like a stress-free environment, I could look at things and say, you know, I'm going to process through this. And me reliving it, me staying and doing the same things that I've been doing for the past 13 years at that point, I said, that's not doing it. It ain't doing it. So do everything different. Try things different. And I mean, you know what I've done now. I've gone through all kinds of different kinds of therapy and meditations and stuff like that, and that's helped. But I think that was probably, it is a gateway drug.
Oh, it is.
It was a gateway to it was a gateway to me opening up a perspective, saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to try different things.
It's a different spirituality that you get from it in a weird way.
There is an element of
There's a
that too.
weird thing
There is an
about
element of that
there
too.
really is.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Okay.
And I
So
think
how
it's
long have
beneficial.
you been doing marijuana?
Let's see, since 2015-ish. And that's the thing. I smoked in high school every once in a while, so it wasn't like I was, you know, when I was at
Is
a
that
party.
on your background?
Hey,
When I was at a party,
second
yeah,
responders
I'm
don't
Fire,
have
fire.
backgrounds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't care.
They can do whatever the hell they want.
But yeah, I mean, so when I was at a party, yeah, sure, I'd take a couple
Right.
hits or whatever, but never like I had after that event.
Gotcha.
And when I did, I researched the fuck out of it. So it wasn't like it was when it was just now getting, like 2014 was the year that Denver legalized recreational pot. So it had just started off, you know. There was tons of studies out there. There was tons of this, and this. So I just basically used my brain and started doing comparative, you know, research studies. And everything that I came to, it was just like, wow, there's no withdrawal effects from this. There's no, you know, it improves your sleep. It improves your depression.
It did.
It does that type of stuff without having that shitty side effect.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, I'm going to do it, even if it is illegal. You know, so that's kind of what I...
You never blazed up, Veronica, ever in your life?
Mhm.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, high school.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all smoked some
different
bud.
weed for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well,
It's different
yeah.
now. Like a lot, like you could no, and that's the thing is there's shit out there that's
super
really,
strong now.
really strong that I would never even suggest anybody do, quite frankly. It's a drug. Like there is a side of that is dangerous as fuck. But if you're smart and you utilize it correctly, it can be very beneficial. It really can.
Were you going to say something, Mark?
I was just going to say, so when you realized that was their drug of choice, that's the day that you walked from Missouri to Denver?
He had plenty of time on his hands.
Actually, I was
Colorado legalized it. See you later.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding,
ding 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 ding.
That's fucking hilarious. So,
That is the little
Did
tune
it-
that goes
did-
in my head at all times. Though.
did any of you get a reset from the meds? Did anybody get a reset?
On the very first thing they gave me, and I don't remember what it was, started with an A. That helped me. But it was just a few days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like in the sense of a reset, yes. It gave me a reset of, as in, like, I didn't have fucking 6 voices in my head,
Right.
you know, going at one
What, the
time.
marijuana?
Well, no, the meds.
Oh, the
actually,
meds.
The
Gotcha.
pharmacology. So, yeah, like, I didn't have the voices going crazy, but I had, it was just like a calmer, hey, I'm here.
You're okay.
You know, I'm okay.
See, that effect right there
That's that reset.
increased my anxiety, because I was
Really?
like, man, I felt like I couldn't pick my arm up.
I agree.
And I was like, and because of that, I almost feel like I have some sort of paralysis, like I'm in a living coma.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I really want to pick my arm up. I want to get up. I want to get up off this couch, and I can't. And so that just spun me up even
Fuck yeah.
further. I was like, yeah, I don't like this stuff either.
I could definitely see how that would, though, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I remember the very first time I walked into the psychiatric nurse practitioner, and I told her about the screams, and she's going through my scenario, through my critical incident. I'm telling her about the screams. I hear the screams. I can't sleep. I'm just constantly tense. The fact that I had already been in the hospital for a possible stroke, and she tells me I'm going to take risperidone, and I've never heard of it. And I go, what is it? She said it's an antipsychotic. And I was like, oh, fuck, no, I'm not taking that shit. I'm not crazy, right? And she's like, well, technically you're not crazy, but you're hearing something that's not there. And I was like, oh, that minute, I was like, I'm done.
She's telling me I'm crazy.
I'm fucking crazy.
Exactly what she said.
Right? And
Yeah, I was scared when they
Yeah.
said, here, I'm going to prescribe you this. And I was asking too. And they said it's an antipsychotic. I was like, oh, what?
Yeah. And I had no idea. So and I had my phone, but you guys know when you're in there, you're not really thinking about Googling shit and trying to find out. You want them to tell you.
Yeah, because you trust them.
Right. And I did. I
And you're
trusted her
desperate
completely.
and you're hurting.
Right. And she goes, it's an antipsychotic. It's going to help you sleep. It's going to hopefully help for the screams. And I said, what are the side effects? And she's like, you know, when you get the meds, there'll be a piece of paper with the side effects on it.
I couldn't read all that.
I was like, why
on my
not?
face.
She's like, well, this is like 5 pages.
Yeah. I was like, why don't you just tell me what the fucking side effects are, doc? And she's like, well, everybody's different. And I was like, okay, you're hiding some shit now.
Yeah.
Everybody's different.
And so she's like, you might get headaches, you might have this, and I was like, oh,
Eventually, you'll wear
not too bad.
You'll wear a Santa's hat and a lit up sweater,
and you'll be in a diaper.
Yeah.
drinking whiskey out of a coffee cup
So
like a hobo.
it's coffee.
Sure
It's
it is.
coffee. I poured it out of a flask. It's coffee.
Juan Valdez doesn't brew that, man.
So, anyways, she gives me the antipsychotics, and my wife's sitting next to me, and I'm looking over at my wife like, you gonna stop her? Are you gonna defend me? Are you gonna anything to make this woman not think that I'm fucking crazy? She said antipsychotics.
Yeah.
Why are you not freaked out taking me home? And
She's like, you need those motherfucking.
oh yeah, she was. And so, like you guys, I trusted her, and I whatever's gonna make me. So, she gives me risperidone to go to sleep, risperidone to stay asleep, lorazepam to go to sleep, and trazodone for good measure.
I remember a series just like that.
Yeah, and so I'm like, oh,
I remember them saying,
fucking-
this one will put you to sleep, this one will keep you to sleep. I was like, huh?
Yeah,
Really?
that's like, good shit.
Damn, what's going to wake me up?
Yeah, so
Am I
Like-
gonna wake up?
A couple of days. a few days from now, you'll wake up.
so
After your 37-day coma.
I go down. She asks, what pharmacy you at? And she calls in the prescription, and then she's like, it'll be ready by the time you get there, whatever. So we go down to the pharmacy, and my wife's she could be a prankster, and I don't even think she knows she's being a prankster, but she was like in good spirits, and she's like, I got you something. And she hands me a fucking pill bottle, morning, night, the 7 days. And I was like, what the fuck? Here I am, 40 years old, man. I got a pill bottle like a fucking 80-year-old.
That's a lot of medicines to keep
Dude.
up on, bro.
And I'm like,
It's helpful.
I kept thinking to myself, am I going to forget this shit?
Yeah, because there was a point where I was I would have to write
I didn't
them
know
down
if I took
every
it that day
Yeah.
or not. I'm like, did I already take that?
Yeah,
I don't.
I
How many of these
literally-
have I taken already? I don't remember. I was supposed to take
kept,
3, and then I
sticky
take 4 at
notes.
night, and it's like,
Yeah.
jeez.
So she goes to fill it. I sit in the little, sick patient area or whatever with all the parents with their kids that are loud and snot nosed. And I get on my phone and I Google the side effects I start with lorazepam. And there I see the first column. And it's like dizziness, forgetfulness,
Yeah.
stomach pain, constipation, all these other things. And I was like, well, that doesn't seem so bad. Right? And then I look at the second part of that, which is
Certain
little-
people affected
yeah.
were this way. Yeah.
little to no libido, the tremors.
Then you looked up what libido meant.
So then I
talking
see,
to a kid in the hood, I don't know what libido means.
then I look at, so I see like, I see tremors, shakes,
Yeah.
drooling, rectal bleeding, death.
Nice.
And I'm like, what the
Death
fuck
is a side
are they giving
effect.
me? Yeah.
The side effect. If you've died, quit taking this thing.
If you
And
have
contact
died-
your physician immediately.
If you have died, call this number.
Yeah. Apparently, if you're dead, all your symptoms are done.
Yeah,
So-
thankfully.
I'm like, what the fuck? So, of all that, I key in on drooling. I don't know why, but I'm just like, drooling. What the fuck? Well, I already had tremors and shakes from the scream, so I figured, what the fuck? What is it going to do? So she tells me, the pharmacist says, take this with a meal and don't drink with it. And I was like, well, define drink. What does that mean? Like drink? Like don't drink water with it, orange juice, milk, alcohol? She's like, no alcohol. And I'm like, at all? Not even just a little bit? And she's like, nothing. And I was like, fuck. So being me the way that I am, I completely disobeyed her. And I get home, and I'm already pissed because I got a pill bottle. Now I got these fucking pills that I got to take to try to keep these screams out of my head, get me to sleep, and get some rest. Now, by this time, I hadn't rested in about 11 months. And I tell people I hadn't slept, but they always go, that's impossible. But if you've been through this shit, you know that you don't sleep.
Don't tell me it's impossible.
Right. Because your mind's going, but doesn't shut off. You're awake. Whether your eyes are shut or you think you're sleeping,
Right.
your
This
mind is
still
fucking going.
Yeah.
And so I would snag like an hour here, 45 minutes here. Well, I got home, and then that night I had to take my meds, and I ate, and then I took my meds, and the first thing I did was pour myself some whiskey. Right. My wife's not going to yell at me because we're already at odds. My anger's a problem. I'm not going to listen to her even if she complained and told me not to. I was going to drink. Then I just drink more. So she just, whatever. So I take the Risperidone, the one that supposedly has you drool. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I think I'm okay with just the Risperidone and some whiskey. And I took it.
That's what I need.
Risky.
Yeah.
Risperidone whiskey.
And then
It's a bit risky.
And then I took
And it
it.
makes you frisky.
And then, so I took it, and the best way that I can explain it, and I say this in group all the time when we do our speaking engagements, I took it about 9:30, 9:45. I had one drink, and then we went and laid down. And I remember, I'm scared to go to sleep sometimes. And so I'm like, okay, we're going to, what's going to happen? And the next thing I remember, it's 7 a.m. Wow. It was like I died from 10 to 7. Because it's like somebody came in and went, click.
Turned you off.
Just shut everything off. Like, everything, right? And then I woke up in this big pile of drool, right? And I was like, oh, that's what they mean by drool. When you sleep.
Well, no,
right?
no. See, I've had... Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say,
All right.
so that's what I thought drool was. So I'm like, wow, this shit's some pretty good shit, right? And as time went on, I found that I needed what she had prescribed me. I was fighting it. And I was like, okay, throughout the day, I need my lorazepam, and then before bed, I would take my my Risperidone, and then crash out with the alcohol. But it gave me well needed sleep. It gave me a reset in my sleep because my patterns were so erratic. I didn't get to REM sleep. I didn't get any of that.
Right.
And
So you went straight to coma sleep.
death. It was 100% death. It wasn't coma. It was death. Like, there were times my wife would tell me, she's like, in the middle of the night, I get up and I check to see if you're still breathing. She's like, because I think you stopped breathing, right? And I was like, whatever. I'm out. So I was happy. I felt rested. And there was other things within those 3 brackets of medication, right? Trazodone, Risperidone, and lorazepam was what I was taking. Risperidone was drooling, the side effects. Trazodone was forgetfulness and confusion. And then, like, the next one was, like, slurred speech, right? And so I was like, I don't have any of this shit, right? And what I thought was drooling was, like I said, the big pile of thing when you're out. And I thought slurred speech was when you took the meds, you, like you were drunk, you started to slur your speech because you were getting ready to go to bed. The meds were kicking, and that's what I thought. And then as time went on, like the very first time this happened, I'd already been retired, and I was hanging out with my wife, and we had gone to the mall or something, and I wanted something, and all of a sudden I just slurred everything. Like broad daylight, I was like,
Yeah. But and you almost thought you said it correctly.
I did say it correctly.
Yeah.
It didn't come out correctly.
No, exactly.
Right.
I know. I had that deal
Yeah.
too. I was like, what the? And what do you mean you don't understand me?
She goes, what's wrong with you?
I'm speaking in cursive.
Yeah. She's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
She's like, you didn't sound fine. And I was like, okay. Well, a couple of days later, I'm watching TV and just enjoying a TV show. All of a sudden, drool just starts coming down my mouth. Right? And I'm like, oh, here we go. Here we go. This is what they were talking about. One day I was talking to Dave, the co-founder of Pistol with me, and I said, Dave, man, they got me on these meds, man. Fucking Lexapro and lorazepam, and I can't feel my mouth, man. Like my gums are numb and my tongue is lazy. Yeah. And he's like, that shit happened to me too, man. So I got off of it. And I'm like, but I sleep so well. And he's like, well, you sound like an idiot when you're talking. And I was like, well, it's, 6 of one, half dozen of another. But I really, really got a reset on my meds. I should not have drank with my meds. I would never encourage anyone out there to do that.
Right.
It's not a good, like a couple times I thought, like I told my doctor one time, my psychiatrist, I said, hey doc, it's 2 things I need you to tell me. Like, if my shit doesn't work anymore, it's out. Right. And then the other thing is I'm going to drink on these meds. That's what I told my psychiatrist. Being a boozer, I wasn't going to lie to anybody. And I was pretty upfront and direct with my doctor. I said, look, here's the deal. I'm going to drink on these meds. He's like, you can't drink on these meds. And I said, I am. That's it. This is plain and simple. I'm a boozer. At the time I denied it a lot, but I told him flat out, I'm going to drink on these meds. Your job as a doctor is to tell me how much is too much. Because I don't want a Whitney Houston cocktail, right? And he's like...
too soon? No.
He goes, no, I can't. He's like, I can't ethically do that. I said, so here's the deal, doc. I'm going to have 2 drinks. Okay. Now, should I take risperidone, trazodone, and temazepam? And he's like, you can't do that. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to have 2 drinks. Can I take 2 drinks and risperidone? And he's like, and I'm like, I like the way you think, doc, we're good. And that's what my cocktail was for the better part of 5 years. And looking back, even my brother's a nurse, and he would call my wife, unbeknownst to me at the time, and he's like, how's he doing? Right? Because I would take my meds, and I didn't take it with water. I took it with alcohol. And looking back, all my side effects are pretty much my own fault because of what I was doing to my body.
I don't know about that.
I'm not saying it's all my fault,
Yeah.
but I knew better than to do what I was doing.
Yeah.
I just wanted everything to stop.
Yeah.
And I knew what worked with the alcohol.
Yeah, you're trying to cope,
Right.
And trying to
And
go to prescription.
so I was struggling, but I was sleeping. Right? It was something that I hadn't done before. And I will tell you, you take your meds. For me, they're necessary. It's a reset. You don't have to take them as long as Mark and I did. I took them for 7 years, and I probably needed them for 7 years. And eventually just got to the point where I was like, I don't want, when they put me on Lexapro, I was numb, bro. Numb. And I had the opposite of every side effect. Right? The opposite. If it said low libido, I was through the roof. If it said weight gain, the lowest I went down to was 160 pounds. I should not be 160 pounds. And if it said dizziness, then I looked like I was a 0.3. Like I was just fucking couldn't walk.
Yeah.
Slurred speech, you guys probably hear it in the podcast. Every once in a while I pronounce things different. The other thing the fogginess that you guys talk about. Like, I don't get the fogginess. I just completely, it's just blank. You know, my son's girlfriend came through the house the other day, and I looked at her and I'm like, what the fuck is her name?
Mm-hmm. I have that. I could not.
I was like,
remember
what the
anybody's
fuck
name.
is her name?
Yeah, things that are so well known to you, and it's completely escapes you. And I was like,
Right.
all right, I'm 55, but you got no excuse.
I'm not Teabag's age.
Yeah. That drooling thing you were talking about. So I had that too. I remember I was still on FMLA, and the department had a Cardinals football game that we all went to, and they, my friends are encouraging me. My squad mates are like, "Come on, man, go with us." Everybody's worried about you and concerned about you. I said, all right. So I went, and they're all sitting in their chairs, and I'm walking by everybody. I was like, hey, man, how's it going? Yeah, good seeing you again. And I had no idea it was happening. But
Drool.
this big, long string of drool just like comes flying out of my mouth, and quickly, too.
Yeah.
It's like, just dripping down the front of my face. And everybody's like, my buddy's like, hey, don't drool on me, man. What's wrong with you? Get off of me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah. I tried playing it off like, yeah. And it was a damn job to keep up with my spit.
Yeah.
I couldn't keep up with it.
I carried handkerchiefs for probably about 3 years. And I would just constantly wipe my mouth. And dry mouth was the other one. Like, I didn't get dry mouth. My mouth was just soaked, and I had saliva everywhere. It was...
You're a squirter.
Yeah. It's a totally different podcast, Mark. Totally different podcast.
What? That's my Friday group. Sorry.
So, overall, I would
Christmas.
say.
Now, how about those sweaters?
So, at least my opinion, you need them to get reset. Tony and I talked about this in one of the fire groups. The reset. The problem is, Mark, you know this. Some of that stuff we were addicted to adrenaline, right? And that level of evenness is uncomfortable to us. To just be mundane,
Right.
is fucking terrible.
It's a horrible life.
Well, I don't think we're that way anymore either. I know I'm up here above.
Yeah.
What I used to could dip back above and below. Now
Right.
I'm just like stuck up here all the time. So don't get me wrong, man. There's days, a lot of days when I'm like, man, I really wish that I had something in me to like mitigate this, because peppermint gum and water and loud music and everything else that I'm trying to do doesn't.
And remember, I mean, there's certain...
And I know those medicines are strong, and sometimes I really liked the fact that, man, you know what? I knew I would never be in a bad situation while I was on that.
Yeah. Well, and it did...
So I missed that safety. That's why I carried that toolbox full of drugs around for years. I just recently threw it away like 6 months ago.
It did reset, and what it did was...
That's how cocky I was.
It reset my brain, it reset my confidence, and it allowed me to thaw out and then get back to a normal person's emotions, right? And I'll give you an example. I don't know if I talked about it in previous podcast or group. If I repeat it, I'm sorry. But about 2 weeks ago, I'm sitting in my living room, and I'm drinking coffee, watching the news, and I see the fires in Australia. Did you see those? You didn't see the fires in Australia?
Yeah.
So I'm watching, and I was like, man, they're burning down the fucking rainforest over there, the forest in Australia. And then I see this fucking koala bear
that was
running,
Poor little
and
thing.
his ass is on fire.
Yeah, and some lady takes her shirt off and smothers the flames for the little koala bear.
So normally,
She was wearing a bra, though.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So
but she did take her
normally-
shirt off.
Normally, being a guy, that would be some funny shit to see a koala bear's ass on fire, right? Like, he's like,
I
there's
hate-
cartoons and shit.
Yeah.
And I'm watching it, and I see this koala bear, and it's crying.
It was
Right?
sad, man.
And my wife looks, she's like, are you crying? I'm like, turn the channel. Turn the channel.
Yeah.
Like I fucking
Telling
cried.
you.
Like I would cry.
Yeah.
I was gonna break down over seeing that's the right response for that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that before.
Yeah.
I didn't have that as a cop or a firefighter, right?
Right.
We just had a response of shove it down and move on to the next call. Here's this lady takes her shirt off, and I never once realized she had taken her shirt off. I didn't even, all I saw was that burning koala bear, right? And I was like, oh, my wife's looking at me. She's like, you're all right? I'm like, I'm going to lose my shit right now. Rightfully so. Koala bear's going to burn. Yeah. And so
So you're saying that's normal? I do that all the time for the dumbest things.
That's
I'm
normal.
I know, but I'm like, this is so not normal. What is wrong with me?
Of an angel.
Don't sing that song. You're going to start crying.
Her and those dogs, man. Shut up. Oh, hey, when we lost that canine a couple weeks ago, man, I was reeling from that, dude.
Yeah.
Because that dog is out of the kennel that I volunteer at.
Yeah. And so, and then what I do 2 days later, I'm fucking scrolling through the news, and I see the fucking koala bear died. So that set me off into another. I'm looking for bottles of lorazepam to calm down. I'm like, fucking poor fucking koala bear.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I thank you guys coming out. There was, well, you wanted to talk about that dog. I know you weren't here when that dog went down, right?
Yeah. So that was Brad, my friend George. He has a canine defense. That's where we did our
Painting?
our painting at. Yeah. He bred that dog. That was my best friend's dog, and one of his dogs they bred and made that litter. And so that puppy, he his daughter actually named it. So he speaks Greek, and he named he was wearing a red collar, and I think I'm gonna butcher this pronunciation, but he said red in Greek is Kokiana. But his little daughter couldn't say Kokiana. She could just say Koki. Yeah. So that's what they stuck with. She named the dog Koki, and it went to El Mirage. And so when Koki got killed, and it was a great canine team because it's difficult to pair a perfect dog with a perfect handler, and they said that was like the perfect pair.
Right.
And it was the only one that they had at El Mirage. So when it died,
that was rough.
Yeah, he dropped what he was doing. They all rushed over there to assist it. And that's what's kind of neat about it. The police family is small. The canine family is even smaller within that.
Yeah.
So they all knew it, and they all grieved that dog together. So,
well,
it was tough.
He did his job, man. There's no doubt about that. So
he did, man. I hate to see him, and I'm training a dog now, and I'm just so scared that may be. I mean, you just know the people they're gonna face.
Right.
They're not talking to jaywalkers. They're not talking at a family fight. It's a violent felon.
Right.
That's when the dogs are coming.
Yeah. So
anyway, God
with
bless
that being
them.
with that being said, we hear you. I see the comments. I know we've all seen them. I'm working on getting this into iTunes. I'm not ignoring you guys. Look, I'm a detective. I'm not an IT guy, and I'm doing my best to get it. T-Bag is doing some research and getting it over. We got to RSS some stuff over, and
it's
so as soon as that happens, I will shift all of our podcasts back over, so you can listen to them while you drive or while you work. And I appreciate you guys leaving the comments. Leave more comments. Veronica answers the comments. If you want to comment on the Cardinals, feel free to make fun of them. Before we get out of here, where did they land? How are they doing?
They lost.
They lost.
Shit.
Figure.
That's a tough season we had.
I'll tell you, man. They got
23-17, I think.
They got to get rid of Cliff.
No, he's the only good dude, man.
No, man. So
you're talking about the coach, yeah.
Yeah.
Get rid of that clown.
It's his fault. That clown's got to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Quarterback.
He brought the quarterback.
I like the quarterback.
It was his
Yeah,
pick.
it doesn't
He's killing
matter.
it. He's killing it.
So, as always, you guys, to us
Lift this guy up.
and those like us, make sure you come join us next week.
Yep. House.
Thanks.